higher, so it's fair when it comes time to bid. A little over $11,000 for the box and the hitch, and the plow, a new plow, under 7,000. So I estimate right now, worst case scenario, to buy a brand new one right now would be $60,451, and that would be identical to the one we have. That would include the stainless steel box and the hitch plate. Would be a twin to the one we got, just 1 year newer. Because the truck we got in January, we actually priced a 2017, but by the time we got the truck, they built us a 2018 for the same price. That truck was $58,698, and I'm estimating $60,451 or less for one this year. So that's a pretty close. And I know how much the price of steel went up this year, so I was quite surprised. The biggest downfall is the truck's in Ohio. We'll have to go get it. So
We'd have to bid it too.
we have to bid it, right? We have to bid the box and the plow and everything. So we have to. The problem is, nobody's doing piggybacks this year on Chevrolets because Chevrolet didn't build that many trucks. So we can't piggyback off somebody. Whereas the last one we piggybacked, which eliminated the bid process. So if we gotta go to bid, it's a matter of drawing up the specs and putting them out there and getting the bids back and opening them up and going that route.
Any comments, opinions on the board?
I mean, I did not look at other brands to see if there was anything out there.
Artie, the truck we have, how many miles are on the truck?
I don't know. It's a 2009 and it's rusted right out.
I saw it, I mean, but the interior looked very good, the rubber's great on it, the frame looks okay. I did notice that the cab is pretty shot and the front fenders are shot on it, but,
The hood shot, rusted right through.
okay, so what would our cost be to reskin that versus spending $60,000 on a new truck?
I don't know. I'm not interested in reskinning the truck.
Well, I'm just looking at 9 years is really not a lot of years to get on a truck.
Recommended life from the state is 9. My highway equipment thing that I've been trying to do for a number of years was replace it at 5 years, and we don't ever have to get to that stage. If we replace it at 5 years, you got a truck to sell in 5 years, that's really nice.
No, I was just curious, because I know it looked like it had
Well, that
virtually no
that
wear.
truck is identical to the other one that the frame broke on last year. So within a year or two, I'm gonna guess the frame's gonna break. So how much money do you wanna put in a truck that the frame's gonna break in? And we constantly have brake trouble with that truck too. So
Yeah.
it's just,
You had it done at Priscilla's, what, 3 times last year?
and then we had it to Schultz's a couple times, yeah. You know, it's got a brake system onto it that you can't bleed without a computer. And we don't have the computer, so we can't bleed the brakes, and it loses brakes, and, you know, it's just, you know, it's 10 years old. I mean, it's served the town well for 10 years, and I think it's time we should replace it.
And we'd sell it as is, the 2009?
I would sell it as is. I mean, we got good money for the last one with a broken frame. This one, the frame ain't broke yet.
Did you check with Carbone?
Yeah,
Nothing?
nothing. They don't even have a Chevy up there.
Really?
Supply is thin, I know that from dealings I've had on the Chevy trucks.
Chevy's coming out with a 4,500 and a 5,500
Right.
this year. So they're retooling the factories to build all these new trucks.
Well, we also talked about that, Chrysler products in the Ford. But you're telling me the box specs are different.
Well, yeah, a Ford
hesitate
and Dodge,
to-
our trucks are wider than a Chevy. So I'd like to keep, if we're gonna replace it, I'd like to keep one that's exactly the same. So if we build a chipper box, it'll fit on either truck. So if one truck's down or whatever, you can put the chipper box on either truck, depending on what's going on. It's nice to have two the same. You stock one fuel filter, you stock one oil filter, you know.
And do we have, you found it down there and that's a straight buy, or are you still waiting for a phone call to?
I was waiting for him to get back to me with a municipal price. But the internet price is $42,251, so that's worst case scenario.
Right.
They would sell it for that. and they got 4 of them. So I talked to a dealer in Connecticut, they got one with a box on it, and they're not interested in selling it to us because they're getting too many calls on it, and it would take too long with the bid process for them to say, we're interested in selling that to you. And those are the ones that I found that were on the lower scale of $50,000 bucks. I mean, you're gonna get a truck with a box that's not the same.
Right.
And you like the 350 rather than the 450 or 550 for that application?
I mean, they probably make a 450 or 550, but I don't know the specs on it. I don't know if it's wider, if it's wider, the box we're using ain't gonna fit onto it. It's just, I don't know. I like the short wheelbase for getting around in the villages, some of them turns in Nelliston. I mean, there's buildings right on the corner, you can't, I mean, we've had to plow Nelliston with my pickup truck with a crew cab, and you cannot make the corner coming out.
That's probably why those cab and chassis are sitting on the lot. They're standard cab and nobody wants them anymore.
Well, it's a pretty big
Which is
dealership.
okay.
It's a pretty big dealership, and they've got a bunch of gas job ones, and they got the diesel ones, and, they've got some with boxes on them, mechanics bodies and dump bodies, but, no sense buying something with a body on it that we don't want. We're better off
Right.
buying the cab and chassis and putting the body on that matches up to what we got. But I think if we could buy a truck, theoretically, 2 years later, for almost the same money as we did 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and I can tell you right now, the snowplow alone, the prices on the snowplow went up $700 on just the snowplow. And we're only talking $1,800 total difference. Worst case scenario.
If we wait for the retooled next model year, I think we're in for a pretty good increase.
So if you go to the 45 or 5,500, it's gonna be a
Big jump.
significant increase.
Yeah, well, he's saying it's not that important to him to have the heavier truck
Right.
for this application. A lighter truck is advantageous.
And what's next in line besides this truck, what are we looking at?
Well, we have to discuss, I've got a pretty good handle on the money for capital type investments. There's 300,000 in this year's budget. And one of the next items up is that Gradall, which is a very expensive machine. And we've talked about that. We could stay within the 300 and do this deal too, I think, with what's coming down the road there. And it's, as far as having a long-term capital plan, the limiting factor on our capital plan seems to me to be the money. We have a lot of equipment that's in the final third of its useful life. So rather than scheduling equipment, I purposely held off because we don't know what's gonna last the longest. Here we've got a truck that's got a lot of rust trouble, and with a Gradall, we've got a piece of equipment, every time they take it out of the barn, they gotta put it back and work on it. So it's impeding the work progress, the work on the roads. That's the way the older equipment gets. You spend more time maintaining equipment, and the guys aren't on the roads. So our service is deteriorating to the public. There's a balance there. I think with our present workload, this is probably a direction I would recommend going. The light-duty trucks are not built like they used to be. 20 years ago, we didn't have to worry about broken frames. They all had a real husky frame on them. Now, the useful life is shorter on these smaller trucks. And you heard the highway superintendent, I happen to agree that putting a lot of money in a 10-year-old chassis is putting money in a truck you're never gonna get back. And you'll still will be taking the thing back to the barn to work on it with other stuff fails that you haven't addressed. There's useful life and there's the money issue. And once we're in reasonable condition with the vehicles in the town barn, I would like to look further into this, maybe keeping the smaller trucks 5 years and seeing what we can sell them for. The cost per year is what I outlined in that initial inventory that I did for the town. And that cost per year is important, especially on these smaller vehicles that the deterioration accelerates once they get past 5 to 10 years.
And you're under warranty for 5 years too. So the first 5 years, you got zero maintenance back.
Yeah, so,
That pickup that I drive, that's 3 years old. I'm getting a new one in August. Because he's flipping it, we bought a brand new in 27, they gave him 25,000 for trade-in. So we ran a pickup for 3 years for $2,000.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what.
There are other alternatives besides where we're going right now, but where we are with so many pieces showing deterioration, we made a good move with that big truck, buying that stainless steel box. And now he's refurbishing a lot of it that, you know, it wasn't obvious when we started. Putting brakes in, cooling equipment in, and things like that. It's costing a little more, but it's not costing no $225,000, $230,000.
And by doing it now, we're potentially avoiding breakdowns during the winter when we really need it.
And I think we've probably extended the life of that unit by 5 to 10 years. So it's worth doing. But here we are with another small one. More than likely, we'll be faced with an emergency purchase in January or February, or we will do something now.
Well, do we have to go out to bid for this, or is it something that you could just?
I'm pretty sure we have to go to bid.
Yes.
Because
We aren't going to declare any emergency.
Right, no.
If we declare an emergency, we don't have to bid it. But
Right.
this isn't an emergency, this is just reasonable thinking. And if that outfit has 4 of them on their lot, and they're willing to say to us, all right, bid it and it'll be here, that's kind of hard too.
yeah, well, like I
So-
said, the dealer in Connecticut didn't want nothing to do with municipal
Exactly.
waiting 2 to 3 weeks, 3 weeks to a month. They didn't want nothing to do with that waiting.
Right, and they can generally, a dealer-to-dealer trade, pop $1,000 on something like that, and they made a little money, where with us, they gotta wait.
Yeah.
But if we bid it and the truck isn't there, all right, we tried. We went through the motions and on to the next step.
Yeah, if they happen to sell the 4 of them trucks before the bids come out, well then, we just don't get one from that. all.
Yeah. So we move on to the next deal, right? I don't know, what's the rest of the board think with this score? You have any other ideas?
Well, it definitely needs to be replaced, and I'd say that we
Let's go out to bid.
go out to bid now with it, rather than wait until January.
Okay, I've never been out to bid with a truck since I sat down here. Do you write the specs?
Yeah.
Now, suppose a Dodge or a Ford shows up, you all right?
Yeah, I mean, there.
It very well could happen,
It could
because
happen, right.
their inventories are larger. And you might not end up with
never
that
know.
Chevy you
You never
want.
know. That's one thing about going to public bid. You don't know what you're gonna end up with.
That's right. So that's a possibility too. Now, do you write the specs, or does the board write the specs?
I wrote the specs.
Okay.
So what I would do for this vehicle, I would spec the vehicle, and then I would spec the dump equipment that would go on the vehicle. So it'd be 2 separate bids.
Mhm.
And the plow equipment.
I can, you wanna do a third one for the plow, we can do it. I can put it right in with the dump box.
Okay.
You know, furnish and install this model box, this model plow on Town of Palatine supply chassis, the way you read it.
Okay, how do we start? Does somebody want to make a motion that, or prepare the specs and bring them back to the next meeting, or let the specs fly in the public notice from Linda?
My recommendation is we get the specs up and get them out so we can open bids next month. Because if you wait a month
That's right.
before you guys send them, say, put the bids out, I mean, the board always has the possibility of rejecting.
Right.
So if you don't like what comes in, you always have the option to reject. You're not binding to buy anything, you're just putting it out there to see what it costs. If the numbers come back and that dealer says, well, geez, I'm down to one and the price went up and all of a sudden I want 55,000 for it.
Anything.
You guys can
down,
say,
we
well,
can-
we're not paying that,
Right.
no big deal.
Okay.
I make a motion, goes out to bid and brings them, so we can have bid openings for next month.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, could we, can we amend that motion to have a date that we have the specs out by, so there's enough, because we have to, have it in, we gotta give the bidders, 10 days notice?
5.
5 days notice, so we gotta have it out by a certain date so we can open them at the meeting.
Right, but there's also, as soon as you put a bid out, there's a thing called bid spotter.
Okay.
Everybody's on bid spotter. So as soon as, if you put a bid out, within 24 hours, everybody knows you got it.
I just wanna make sure we have enough time
Oh, yeah.
legally to accept this
Yeah,
bid. so
which
at the
I'm
next
going on
meeting-
vacation, so the bids ain't gonna be done for a couple weeks anyway, so I would say that you're gonna have to wait a little bit to put the ad in the paper anyways, which, otherwise people are gonna be calling looking for specs.
And you got holiday.
You two have both done this routine before, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you know what's.
Up until a
legal.
couple years ago, everything that got bought was bid out.
Bid,
Yeah, so it's no big surprise to you folks, you know how to do it. So I think we can rely on you to.
And I'm pretty sure we can get it in the paper 2 weeks before the next board meeting and have the specs ready then.
We gotta be sure, okay?
Yep.
All
Okay,
right,
I'm
Bob.
fine then with that amendment.
Yeah,
As long as we're gonna make it, that's
'Cause
all I'm worried about.
But in the old days, I've had people call me from Buffalo saying, hey, you're bidding this or you're bidding that. I'm like, well, yeah. How'd you know about it? Because it, our ad comes out in just a little recorder and bid spotter. Oh, okay. When you put something out there, everybody knows. Everybody knows it's out there. Them guys that bid this stuff all the time, they see it. They don't miss it. They don't want to miss a chance on selling
It's the
it.
same with a construction worker around here. It's the same thing. I had a guy from Curtis Lumber tell me about, construction was going on in the town of Palatine the other day. Word gets around. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. We've had discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
And this is for a one-ton pickup,
3,500, yeah.
3,500?
Yeah, a small dump truck.
Yep, dump truck, 3,500 series dump truck, whether it be a Ford, Chevy, Dodge, doesn't.
Well, we're actually gonna bid a cab and chassis.
We're bidding the cab chassis, and then we're gonna bid the box to be put on a chassis supplied by the town of Palatine. That way there, whoever does the box and the plow doesn't have to worry about, finding a chassis for you. We did the same thing when I'm gonna say it was on Western Star.
I think it was.
A couple years ago. No, the Western Star was bought off piggyback, but the one before that was
Yeah,
bought.
I think it was.
We went to bid for the cabin chassis, and then the box and stuff we said installed on a supplied chassis.
What's OGS this year?
What's that?
What's OGS this year? Yeah, we're having luck
For
one ton.
everything, but they're in short supply right now.
OGS ain't always the cheapest either.
Well, I was impressed by, we went on piggyback to buy the last truck, and just by researching some numbers on the internet, I got a price that's almost what we paid for a truck 2 years ago. And that's pretty impressive, because I did find a truck in Vermont with a box on it, and the guy said, well, we'll take the box off, say the cabin chassis. He wanted $50,000 for the cabin chassis. So then, time you put a $7,000 per pound, $11,000 box on it, you're up to $68,000. And I went, whoa. So then I started looking a little closer to see what I could find.
And I stopped in and asked some questions. Now I still have my questions on the Greydall replacement. Caterpillar bit today that you informed me on, not appropriate in the.
That particular one is just way too big.
Too big.
Yeah,
You want a smaller piece of equipment.
yeah. More useful.
All right. Are you finished trying out different models
No,
and makes there?
no, I mean, if the time comes and we're really serious about doing something, then that's when I'll get serious about getting numbers on them. We've tried two, I've been waiting for a third one to come, and it's just a matter of trying them out.
Well, you use that less in the winter than you do in the fall and spring, right? Or not?
Yeah, you would, but if we buy that and put the brush head on it, we can trim brush in winter time, because it's got a cab on it, you ain't gonna freeze it to death. So it could be used, it would be more useful than the great all in the winter time.
Well, if we were to look at, which we will be shortly, another round of budget considerations here, we have to put that in some kind of order with mowing equipment and another large truck. You've got to give us some guidance as to what you feel is the most necessary or the most urgent items.
Well, one of the things that's gonna be happening is the little mower tractors, they're good little tractors, but they're open tractors.
They're high hours.
Their hours are getting up, but they're open tractors. And today with MSHA and OSHA and all that crap going on, and your noxious weeds and all this crap, you know, enclosed cab, then you can mow pretty much every day. Right now, if it's a pouring thunderstorm, I'm not gonna make somebody sit on a tractor in pouring rain, because I wouldn't wanna have to do it.
Well, and you got guys coming back with rashes on their arms and all
Oh,
that
yeah.
kind of
Yeah, that
stuff.
happens all the
So
time.
if we have to establish some kind of priority or scheduling, and that will influence next year's budget.
One thing I would say though is, if we do lean towards a wheeled excavator, I would want a mower on the end of that, similar to what the county just bought, and not buy a tractor with an A-arm onto it, because then it would be just an A-arm mower.
Right.
Whereas the excavator machine could be used for that, could be used for ditching, could be used for everything. Whereas the A-arm tractor, you're gonna use it for mowing grass, and then the thing's useless.
Part of it.
Right. Whereas if you could, for the same money, you could buy two smaller tractors with cabs with either a flail on the side or a sickle bar like you've got, and a flail on the back, which work good. You know, for the same amount of money which you spend on a big one with an A-arm, you could buy two little ones. Because mowing takes a lot of time. Takes a lot of the summer. At least two guys. You know, right now, we got the county letting us borrow their machine to do some spots where we got some brush we want to take down. There'll be three guys out mowing for a short period unless someone steals the tractor back. Or the county tractor.
Okay, we'll discuss that more on a later date. Is that it?
That's all I got.
I hope.
That's all I got. Yeah, I just wasted a half hour of our time.
Okay.